Alright, so you want to learn a language fast, like you want to already know this language. Well, you can learn a language faster. There are ways to expedite the learning process, but we really do want to make sure that we're also learning well. Because while it is possible to very quickly go through a curriculum, you're not necessarily going to learn something well if you speed through it. So we're going to discuss how you can expedite your learning process while also learning your language very well. Before we get started though, if you are new to my channel, my name is Sarah and I teach how to learn any language. So if you want to learn something quickly, it's important to understand that nothing good happens very, very quickly. And yes, you can say like, oh, I've got this book, this Spanish textbook, and I'm gonna go through it and I'm gonna finish all these exercises this week and I'm gonna be done with it. Okay, great. That probably is achievable. You probably can do that, but you might not retain all that much if you finish it that quickly. Now, everyone learns differently. Everyone learns at a different rate. Some people can actually do that. Some people can actually go through everything in, a matter of a couple days and just work really quickly. And if that's you, then this video is really not for you. But I'm not that kind of person. And most of the people I have come into contact with are not that kind of person. That is very exceptional to be able to do that, to be able to retain information that quickly. So if you want to learn something quickly and you go through, like our example of a textbook, and we go through it in a week, you might be able to do that. You might be able to go through and like fill everything out, but you're not actually going to learn that much if you go through it that quickly. So this is where the focus really needs to be on learning well rather than learning quickly. Because if you learn well, you will learn faster. And I know that might sound kind of counterintuitive, like, hey, it's gonna take me longer to do it this way, but you're saying I'm gonna learn faster. Well, yes, ultimately it's going to save you time to learn well instead of learning quickly, because if you rush through something, like let's say you spend that week and you rush through it, but you don't actually retain anything, and now you've got to go back and do it all over again. And then you end up taking your time going through it the next time because you want to make sure that you don't repeat the same mistake, right? So now it's taking you more time. Whereas if you just start at it with, okay, I'm gonna go through, I'm gonna pace myself, I'm gonna start with this chapter this week and then the next chapter next week, and I'm gonna do it well, and if I feel like I can do more, then I'm going to add on a little bit more as I go. But my focus is that I need to learn this stuff well. So how does this save you time? Well, when you learn it well, then you don't have to go back and relearn it. And you know it so well that you can add onto it. You can add concepts onto it. And so think of it like, you're learning the basic conjugations of, we'll say, a Latin-based language, because that's what I'm most familiar with. So whether it's Spanish or French or Portuguese or whatever it is, you're learning those basic conjugations. Well, once you get that structure down, like you're learning present tense verbs, so let's make it even more specific, and how those are conjugated. Once you get that down and you feel really confident about it, it's going to be easier to add on conjugating for a different tense, like for the preterite tense or for the future tense. It's going to be much easier to add that on if you really understand the present tense conjugations. Whereas if you learn the present tense, or you start learning the present tense and then you jump to the past or you jump to the future and you try to learn them all at once, it's going to be a little bit of an overwhelm, and you're going to get all of those things. Like, you're going to have a lot of stuff, but you're probably not going to have any of it very well. So it ultimately can end up taking you more time, at least the same amount of time, if not much more time. So that's where just focusing on one thing, getting it down, doing it well, it's not going to be perfect. Perfectionism does not exist, right? It's never going to be perfect. You're still going to need to improve on it, but you should have it down well enough where you can explain it to someone else. And if you get it to that point where you can say, okay, this works this way, present tense, you know, I need to conjugate the last two letters, those are going to change, they change to these letters, and that's how that works. Then, and you can, you can do it a couple times, then that's, pretty good, and you can add on something else. But if you try to do it all at once, now you've got to separate your concepts in your mind because you've got so much going on. You've got these three different tenses, right? You've got the present, the preterite, and the future, and you got a lot going on. So now instead of just explaining one concept, now you've got to explain all three of them. So if you just do one, you get it and you say, okay, this works, this works this way. Okay, good. Next one. Oh, well, the preterite gets conjugated similarly to the present, right? I still have to just change those last two letters of the word and then it works this way. Okay, now let me add on the future. Well, future works a little bit differently, right? I don't have to change the last two letters, I just have to add something on. So you see where it builds on it. So you're building a strong foundation and then you're just adding pieces onto it. And you're still going back and practicing the foundation. Like, you're never finished with the foundation. You're always building the foundation. But you've got it down well enough where it makes sense, you can explain it to someone else, and you're comfortable adding on more. So this is where we level up. And then once you add all those structures in, then you can start really practicing and developing fluency, as we say. So this is going to ultimately expedite your learning process. Even though you have to stop and slow down, you're going to learn faster in the long run. So you're not going to have as much information up front. You're going to feel like you don't have as much when you start, but you're going to make more progress, say, over the next year than you would if you tried to do it all at once, because you're going to have solid foundations, and solid foundations lead to a solid growth, right? If we build that foundation, the stronger it is, the more we can add on to it. And then the larger that gets, the more we can add. So it eventually just can end up growing exponentially when you build it up that way. So long term is what we're looking at. We're looking at learning fast, long term. Short term, we don't need that. That's not going to do us any good to get all of the information right now because it's just not going to be retained. So what we're really looking for is long-term growth and learning well and ultimately learning faster, but starting at a slower pace and then building that momentum as we go. All right? So I hope that was useful to you guys, so you know kind of where to start and how to think about this language learning. And yeah, so just remember, always start with the foundation and just gradually add on to that as you feel like you're more comfortable. Add a little bit more and a little bit more, and it'll just grow. It'll grow and you can personalize from there, add on to address specific areas where you notice that you're struggling, and you will see tremendous growth if you will follow this method correctly. All right, I will see you guys back here next time. Bye. So, what's this video even about? Learning faster, learning well.